Hi, welcome back. This is Beth Greer, and I'm speaking with Julie Matthews, a certified nutrition consultant and autism nutrition expert. She's also the author of the book Nourishing Hope for Autism. And we've been talking about healing the gut in children who have autism and avoiding things like gluten and casein, which is wheat and dairy, and artificial ingredients. So, Julie, tell us about, what does mainstream medicine say about diet, and are there any studies backing up the effects of diet on autism?
Yeah, so, I guess there's a two-part question to that. If you look at most of the media attention that comes out on the subject, it's mostly negative. So there were two studies done last year on diet that came out, and one showed that it didn't make a difference, and the other showed that it did make a difference. And the only one that got picked up in the press and really had a lot of attention was the one that showed that it didn't make a difference. So I find that, firstly, that's sort of interesting.
Yeah.
I think in some ways, it's hard for people to change, and so if they can jump on the bandwagon of, see, it doesn't really help, I don't need to bother wasting my time, I think that maybe there's something about human nature, or who knows, something more sinister for all I know. So mainstream, not catching on so much, but I can tell you that in the world of families and parents, and in the world of a growing number of physicians and medical people, there is a lot of really amazing support. So there are a number of studies. In fact, one of the things that was really important to me in my book was to make sure that it was scientifically sound and validated. So I have over 200 studies of just different areas of chemistry that are affected, and how these diets help and how they work, and all sorts of things. So I really feel strongly that it's not acceptable to me that we just ignore the whole thing by saying, oh, there's no science, because that's not true. And then this growing body of physicians and nutritionists and people that are applying diet, and most of that I find fueled by parents, because you know what, if you go into your doctor and they say, I'm sorry your child has autism, and really there's nothing you can do, and they will never tell you they love you, and they'll be in an institution someday. I mean, horrible things that they hear, and really there's nothing you can do except some speech therapy and other things like that. I mean, these parents, that is unacceptable to any parent. So good for these parents. They look online, they do research, they find other parents that have had success. And so if you look, you can see the Autism Research Institute has surveyed thousands of parents and found that the different parent organizations, I found anywhere between 70 and 85% of parents say that dietary intervention has improved their child with autism, improved their symptoms. It's a huge, huge number. So
Yes.
The good news is that the groundswell is changing rapidly.
Yeah, no, that is a huge number, and these are the people in the trenches, and they would know best.
Right. Exactly.
So when you are advising a parent of an autistic child, what the first step, aside from, you say, getting rid of artificial ingredients and colorings, and you take them off wheat and dairy, is that your primary?
Usually those are often two of the first steps that we'll do. And again, first steps, it depends. Like, you might need to bring a feeding therapist or a specialist in with you in order to make some of the dietary changes, since many of them can be pretty picky eaters. But yeah, I'd say that those are two of the first that I would start with. And then I also think it's really important to make sure that their nutritional needs are being met, so making sure that they're getting enough calcium if they're doing a dairy-free diet. So usually would suggest some supplementation or other support to make sure they're getting their needs met.
And then what do you think of a supplement like glutathione, for example?
I think glutathione is, in general, is like an amazing compound. They've found that children with autism, Dr. Jill James did research showing that children with autism were deficient in glutathione and missing some of the important nutrients to help create that molecule. And so since they tend to be deficient, supplementing it is a great way to go. It's a little hard to supplement glutathione, so sometimes what people will do is supplement the precursors and supplement the building blocks that make glutathione, like N-acetylcysteine or vitamin C, vitamin E, certain amino acids. It depends, how somebody might choose to boost that up. Some people will look on boosting up certain pathways, the methylation pathway with some, folic acid and B12. So it depends on the individual child and what might be creating their biochemical breaks or imbalances. But yeah, I think that glutathione is a key nutrient in the body.
And then I know that fermented foods are very important, not only for autistic children, but for all of us. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, fermented foods, like when you think of them, you usually think of yogurt, but since most of them would be dairy-free, we might look at dairy-free yogurt, or even many of my clients will do raw sauerkraut or kimchi or whatever those fermented foods might be, kombucha, kefir. And these foods are going to supply that good bacteria that helps to support digestion, helps to support a good intestinal environment. A lot of times when the immune system's weak, you end up with a lot of antibiotics. Those antibiotics wipe out the good bacteria. Yeast tends to overgrow. So fermented foods are a great way to kind of try to return the body back to balance and boost up that good bacteria and get the digestive system functioning better.
Now, if a parent, let's say, gets the diagnosis from the doctor, who should they turn to? Should they go to a naturopathic doctor? Should they go to somebody like you who is solely looking at their nutrition? I mean, where's the first step? What should they do?
Boy. Well, first step I would do is I would go online probably, and I would find maybe a parent organization or two that could be supportive. Generation Rescue, they have rescue angels. You can talk to a parent right there on the spot, very, very quickly, and they can really help guide people from personal experience. Just get a little moral support and parental support and experience behind you, and then figure out, maybe get some referrals to a good physician. I do think, you want a good medical physician, a physician on board to support your journey, but, they often aren't trained in nutrition, so it's often a team approach, and I will help them through foods, how to cook foods, prepare foods, good ideas, picky eater ideas, all those kinds of things that often doctors don't have the time to do. So it's really, to me, a group approach, getting some good referrals for a good physician, and then also definitely looking at dietary intervention. So if that physician doesn't do that, then searching out some help from a nutritionist or someone that can support you on that side.
Now, you say picky eaters, and I know lots of kids, autistic or not, are picky. And so if you have an autistic child who's picky and you know that it's deadly for them to eat certain foods, I mean, that must be really hard. What do you do in that case?
Yeah, it's really hard. I mean, I could literally spend hours on this topic. Picky eating can often be due to being addicted to the wheat or the dairy because of the opiates that can be created for some kids. It can have to do with nutrient deficiencies and all sorts of things. So sensory issues. So, it's something that I would look at, removing certain offending things, boosting up certain nutrients. But also for me, it's really getting creative with texture and with visual presentation. So trying to figure out why your child doesn't like foods. Is the food too wet? Is it too slimy? Can we make it crispy? Can we make vegetables crunchy? Can we hide them in pancakes so we get a texture that they like? So I spend a lot of time not only with what foods have good nutrients, but how can we make them kid-friendly and friendly for picky eaters.
That's a fantastic skill that you have. And so what motivated you to write your book, Nourishing Hope for Autism?
Oh boy, I when I found out that there was something that you could do, that these kids could get better, that some kids even recover and lose their diagnosis altogether, that you weren't hearing about any of this in the mainstream. I was just so drawn and driven and committed and almost obsessed over the topic. I just find it so interesting that I pretty much just started writing, and my paper in nutrition school turned into the beginnings of my book, and then over the years I've researched more and added to it. So it's really a passion to help these families, because so much profound change can happen that I feel like you can really change the course of an entire family and the life of a child, and that's what motivates me every day.
That's fantastic. And you don't have a child with autism, do you?
Correct, I don't.
Uh-huh.
I just it's just my love of children and my selfish desire to feel good by helping other people.
That's fantastic. It's a blessing to have you. And so, you talk about misconceptions about diet and nutrition. What do you think is one of the biggest misconceptions out there?
Oh, I would say that that autism, that there's nothing you can do, and that you're stuck with it for life,
Mm-hmm.
and that diet, is difficult and doesn't make a difference, and all of those things are false.
And then the difference between, you talk about diet and nutrition and do you see a difference there?
Well, I often think of them, and it is all splitting hairs and how somebody would define something, but often I will define them slightly differently. To me, nutrition is the nutrients, the nourishment that you get, and to me, diet is more of an approach of, what you want to take out, what you want to leave in. So I think of them slightly differently, but really, supposedly, I guess in the end, it's all part of the same type of intervention.
Right. And then good nutrition for children in general is probably similar to what you recommend for autistic children. I'm guessing no artificial ingredients, no artificial colors, things that I talk about.
Absolutely. To me, children with autism are simply I shouldn't say simply, but they're the canaries in the coal mine that have told us that we can no longer poison our world because we can no longer handle it. And so, to me, what all we're doing is applying incredibly nutritious, nourishing, positive nutrition principles, and similar things can apply for a number of conditions as well as for super healthy kids too. So this is something that the nice thing is that there is no downside. There's only positive upside. You're going to get better nutrition, and hopefully your child will do better and recover in the process.
And do better in school and life in general, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Be happy and healthy, which is what we all wish for.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Julie. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. And if people want more information, your website is?
Yeah, it's nourishinghope.com.
Okay. Well, thank you. And your book, people can find Nourishing Hope for Autism on your site or on Amazon?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
It's available in both places.
Thank you. You've given a lot of hope to a lot of people. I know that.
Thanks, Beth. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. And thank you so much for listening today. For podcasts and more information on this show, visit yoursupernaturallife.com. You can also download the show on iTunes, and you can find my book, Supernatural Home, on Amazon or my website. And if you go to my website, type in supernaturalmom.com/free gift, you can download a free 20-question quiz from my book, which will help you determine where, when, and how you are unwittingly being exposed to dangerous chemicals from everyday products in your home. Also, take advantage of my expertise where I come to your home and help turn it into a safe haven. You can email me at beth@supernaturalmom.com for more information. Well, see you here next week. Have a wonderful week, and see you later. I'm Beth Greer.